What's up YouTube? Ryan Panny here. Hope you guys are doing reasonably well. So a few months ago now, the good folks over at Metal Injection did this YouTube video about Slipknot, where they ranked the band's top 10 underrated deep cuts. It was super wrong. I watched it and emphatically disagreed with the 10 tracks selected, at least one of which solely on the grounds that, to me, it didn't even classify as a deep cut, which is something that we'll get into in a second. But given how wrong I thought this video was, I didn't really want it to be the only answer available on YouTube to this question, which for all intents and purposes is a very interesting and fun topic to address, because Slipknot is definitely a band that makes full, padded out albums. So there's a lot of rich material here. So I figured, why the hell not make my own version of this so you guys can all watch and disagree and get mad and yell, and you know, the beautiful cycle of internet negativity can continue. So before we can get into my actual list here, we gotta define the term deep cut, just so we're all on the same page here. And it's tricky because the term deep cut can be kind of subjective, as you'll probably see if you disagree with some of my picks. But here's my take on the term. So deep cut very loosely refers to one of the lesser known or less popular tracks in a band's catalog. So by that very vague definition, we can immediately rule out any official single, because singles, by their very nature, are individual tracks specifically pushed to consumers as a marketable shorthand representation of a larger body of work, also known as an album. And even when a single is not attached to an album, when it's a standalone single, a good example being Slipknot's All Out Life track, there's still individual tracks being used specifically as promotional tools meant for maximum eyes and ears. So singles are out. So right off the bat, that's where Metal Injection fucked up to me, because they included the All Hope Is Gone title track, which was literally the first pre-release single for that record. I remember when it came out, it was a very big deal. Anyway, if criteria number one is that it can't be a single, criteria number two is that it can't be in regular rotation in the band's live set list. And that's an equally necessary distinction. Because think about it, if we limited the term deep cuts to just include non-singles, then look at the Slipknot catalog. Look at tracks like Eyeless, Disaster Piece, Pulse of the Maggots, tracks that despite not being official singles are neither underrated nor deep cuts, because you're gonna hear them in almost every live Slipknot show. In fact, according to setlist.fm, which is a site that I've used forever to get my setlist data, Disaster Piece has been performed live by Slipknot 630 times. Hardly a deep cut if you ask me. So that's our criteria here. Not a single, not in regular live rotation. Got it? Got it. Okay, great. Time for the correct top 10 Slipknot underrated deep cuts. Coming in at number 10, a surprising pick for me when I was putting this list together, Danger Keep Away, the closing cut from Volume 3. Especially surprising since I got this song wrong in my Name That Slipknot Song video, which go watch that if you haven't. But this song is a really interesting way to close out Volume 3. And showcases something about Slipknot that's not often discussed, which is the band's ear for ambiance, mood, and an aural space, and how these things can add so much to being a heavy band and can provide so much contrast. And in context of the record, listening to Danger at the very end of it, it's like getting closure with a weird lack of closure. This song just feels suspended in space. It's almost intent on not satisfying you and not giving you the explosive ending that you were expecting. It's an interesting way to close out that record, and it has quietly become a favorite of mine from Volume 3, maybe because of other tracks on there just being so overplayed. But that's the whole point of this video. Number 9, Opium of the People, also from Volume 3. This song comes 5 tracks into the record after just a murderer's row of heavy yet commercially refined Slipknot. And for my money, doesn't get nearly enough credit for maintaining that huge momentum, which when you're preceded in a track list by a song like Duality is no easy task. But Opium of the People does just that. And I'm especially fond of that fun slip-slidey main riff, Joey Jordison's frantic drum fills in the song, particularly before the first verse and before that bridge section. I think the song goes out with a bang on that final breakdown. And it's also notably succinct and structurally simple, which I think allows it to get in and get out with a certain amount of fervor and intensity that doesn't necessarily apply to longer or more layered cuts on Volume 3, like the Nameless or Blister Exists or Vermilion. Number 8, I'm gonna throw a little curveball here and give some love to Override, a supremely hooky bonus track from the Gray Chapter. What's so funny about this track is that it totally makes sense why they left it off the record. It has no place on that record, but not for lack of quality. It's just that it doesn't necessarily fit the darker and more emotionally weighty vibe of the Gray Chapter. This wouldn't have been super out of place like on Stone Sour's Come Whatever May record, but it is nonetheless a killer tune. And for my money, one of the hidden Slipknot gems, and look no further than that crushing militant breakdown and also the excellent use of dynamics throughout, if you want to be persuaded of my perspective. Numero siete, Nomadic from the Great Chapter. This song, besides boasting unquestionably one of the strongest melodic choruses on this record, I'm also a huge fan of how the main riff to the song is used over and over and over again, but with different feels underneath it. I just think that's excellent songwriting when a band can adapt one riff to several different rhythms. And that's exactly what you can observe in this song, whether it's the intro, the verses, or the outro. Same riff, different rhythms. And things like this, for me at least, help keep things exciting, help prevent predictability, help prevent a copy and paste feel, which you get from a lot of modern music. The fact that the same riff can operate with this ever-changing rhythm underneath it is pretty unique. Number 6, another cut from the Great Chapter, AOV, track 3. You know, Metal Injection's list, 4 out of their 10 picks were from the Great Chapter, and I can't blame them. This is one of my favorite Slipknot songs, period. And there's a lot of layers as to why. There's the winding, labyrinth-like guitar riffs. There's Corey Taylor's almost rapper-like delivery and flow, especially when you're using rhyme schemes like community and used to be. It kind of sounds like the type of multi-syllable rhymes that are usually reserved for rappers. I remember when Rob Flynn went on stage and sang, I think he sang Surfacing at that Roadrunner United concert. He was saying that it's basically like a rap, but with the hardest vocal ever over it. And then that kind of sums up Corey's delivery, really the one that helped him rise to prominence, but also on this song in particular. And finally, and most importantly, AOV contains this breathtaking and oddly climactic melodic bridge section that's anchored by Taylor's dramatic vocals and padded out nicely with this real tuneful bass solo and some creative guitar interplay. This bridge section is one of my favorite moments on a Slipknot song, period. And we're 5 years out from it now, and it still has the same impact on me that it did then. Eeyore at number 5, the beloved hidden track off of Slipknot's explosive debut record. And I've already spoken, definitely against popular opinion, about how Slipknot's self-titled record is actually my least favorite by the band. Full explanation in my discography ranking video. Go to that comment section to argue with me about that. But Eeyore has this really special blend of traditional thrash influence with utter cacophonous chaos. It's definitely a glimpse of what the Slipknot self-titled record could have been, with just a little less rapping, a little less generic nu metal isms. It's definitely a window into creative abilities that the band possessed at the time that just weren't necessarily applied on that record. Number 4, I'm giving to Everything Ends off Iowa. A somewhat popular track, but I'd still classify it as a deep cut. Everything Ends, it literally exemplifies why Slipknot got popular, particularly off Iowa. Everything Ends takes total nihilism and extreme anger and makes it surprisingly palatable by being to the point, by being weirdly tuneful, but still uncompromising. It's a balance that few bands have been able to strike since. And it's a balance that, by striking, Slipknot got popular. The bronze medal here is going to The Shape, also off of Iowa. Another explosive song. My favorite aspect here is in the chorus, hearing that scream-sing alternation occurring over death metal style tremolo picking, I think is really unique and really interesting. I certainly thought that even more so when I first heard it. Thunderous breakdown in the song too. I like a lot of the subtle effects and ambiance that occur in the verses, and in general, Joey Jordison's drumming on the song is fucking insane. It's a song that I don't hear quite as often associated with Iowa, but for me, it's always been a song that anchored that record. At number 2, possibly a point of contention for the potential detractors among you, and this is probably my best chance of being called a hypocrite, 3-0 off Volume 3. Yes, it's early in the track list. Yes, it's been performed live numerous times, but I have always found this to be tremendously underrated in comparison with the best known songs off Volume 3. To me, this is the best song on this album, and it's never been treated as such. The main guitar groove is just fucking electrifying. The use of blast beats here is so tasteful and so dynamic, and is really destabilizing for the listener, especially on a commercial record like Volume 3. The combination of gang vocals and melodic vocals in the chorus is a complete home run. 3-0 is exactly what I would play someone if I had to explain why I love Slipknot so much. All of the elements are right here in this song. And the number 1 underrated deep cut in the Slipknot catalog is Gematria, The Killing Name. All the people who consistently disparage the All Hope Is Gone record seem to conveniently forget how it starts. One of the band's most punishing, most lyrically memorable and riffiest songs of their career. Corey Taylor packs this one with venomous quotable after venomous quotable. You know, I mean, what if God doesn't care? The thrash-influenced riffs keep piling on and piling on. The teeter-tottering tempo changes and then feel changes keep the thing interesting throughout, because remember, it's a long song and it goes by like this. I mean, when you think about it, it's no wonder that the rest of the album doesn't live up to Gematria, because it's such a powerful and unforgettable opening statement. And that's about all she wrote. In the event that you are fuming right now over a certain favorite song of yours being excluded by yours truly, here are some honorable mentions to hopefully ease your pain and suffering. I considered Lech off the Great Chapter, Liberate, The One That Kills the Least, Vendetta, Of All Hope Is Gone, and as well as, not as seriously, but I definitely thought about Diluted, Don't Get Close, the bonus track from Volume 3, This Cold Black, as well as Welcome. And yeah, if you're a big fan of Slipknot, which if you've watched all this way, you probably are, definitely be sure to watch my Slipknot discography ranking, as well as my Name That Slipknot Song video, where we compete to see who knows the band's catalog better. This is always such a fun band to discuss, and I'm sure we will be doing so this summer with the new record, We Are Not Your Kind. And of course, thank you so much to Metal Injection for the inspiration to do this. As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video and are not yet subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so by clicking right over here, as well as checking out any of the other rock or metal related content that I publish on a weekly basis here. Really appreciate you watching, liking, disliking, commenting, engaging in any way. Twitter, Instagram, @RyanPanMusic, you can find me. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon.